All right. This is a Zoom webinar after a long time, so you have to be okay and patient with these glitches. But it's really lovely to have all of you here. And to do this on a Sunday evening and to sacrifice your Sunday evening to listen to something which is a movement and a course really means you either are really keen on this or generally were jobless this evening. Whatever be the reason, thank you so much for being here. And I'm hoping that this 1 hour is going to be a meaningful waste of your time. I'm really thrilled to see many of your smiling faces, if not some faces on your profile pictures. So it would be nice. And I'm going to keep making that request. If you are in a agreeable position of dressing, please turn on your videos. It'd be nice to see you. But I can, not having your videos on is not going to be in any way an indicator that you're not with us. And yes, what is going to come up? What can you expect in the next 1.5 hours? Just an agenda, like a quick run through of the agenda, so you can decide which part of the agenda is relevant for you and where you want to just miss. So the agenda that you can expect is we'll begin with just a brief story about Snehadhara, how it all began, what brought us here, how did this small idea become into this large movement for inclusion. A spoiler alert, you can expect some long stories that you've already heard. There may be some cries, there may be some suddenly we'll say get up and start dancing and all that, but that's the Snehadhara way. You'll get to understand what is API, what is arts practices for inclusion as a movement, as a philosophy, as a framework. So you will get to understand what does it mean for us to mix and create inclusive spaces through arts, empathy, and some amount of innovation. We'll also go into why does this matter? Why does this matter as a topic for us to get together today and speak? It'll be interesting. It should matter to all of us because it's about making the world a better place through music, movement, dance, and colors. So I think it should matter to all of us. You will get to know a little bit about the course and stories and some insights. So that's what you can expect in the next 1.5 hours. Now, some of the do's and don'ts before we begin, I want to keep it light. I want to make sure that at any stage you feel you want to come in and there are thoughts, you bring this in. It would be nice to see your faces. Like I said before, we're not going to judge your messy bookshelf or your undone bed. We understand that it's a Sunday. So if you can, one of the do's is keep it on. Do use the chat for questions, comments, random musings, something that you thought caught your attention. I can't guarantee my attention span on the chat window, but keep dropping that in. Somebody from the team will be engaging with you. And yes, we're going to talk about inclusion for the next 1 hour. So do what it takes to make sure that you include yourself completely. So if you want to get water, go and get a cup of coffee, show us your kitchen as you walk to the kitchen. All of that is okay. All that's allowed. They're all in our do's. We don't, I think it'll be just something, if we can, it's difficult to say. But yes, I know, go easy on multitasking in the next 1 hour if you can. Don't get very tempted to that WhatsApp forward and Instagram notification on the tabs that are on right now as we speak, because I don't want to miss any part of you in this discussion. So it's a request. If you can, give us all of yourself because we want to give you all of ourselves. And yes, if you feel suddenly you're bored and you want to get out of it, just blame Wi-Fi and say, my phone is hanging, and then catch up with us later. That's also okay. I'm assuming for all of us, this is a safe space. This is a space where we can have a question, we can have a thought. We might just want to say something that we feel about inclusion. So please use that space. There will be a very structured question and answer session right at the end. So if you can hold on till then, it will be lovely. But if it's like really urgent and you want to say something, please put your hand up and we could always create a possibility for you to speak. So these are like some of the things that we could do. I hope we're all okay with it. And since most of us are used to Zoom, I want to see a show of hands with the best emoticon that you can use for now. With whatever you want, use one of those emojis. I also just learned it. Wait, I want to put one. Oh, wow, Sumya, it's okay. Oh, I hearted myself. Okay. Lovely. Thank you. Now, beginning with the story of Snehadhara, because I think that is going to be a little relevant for all of us. Yes, another request, if you're able to, please rename yourselves with your name. So if you want to refer and pick up a question, it'd be lovely to address you by your name and not iPhone and Google Pixel and all that. So I'm just thinking, I understand it's a webinar on inclusion and diversity and gender and all should not matter, but name yourself. There is something in the name here. It will help us if you can do that, even if you can't turn your videos on. Now, for those of you who don't know about Snehadhara or are not familiar with our work, or even if you're familiar with your work, even for most of us, each time we do this, it's like a way of revisiting our intent on why we set up an organization like Snehadhara and what it is set out to do. So the story of Snehadhara is going to go back to 2012, where we began in a very simple, independent home. This organization was set up after the first child, Sneha, whom I worked with, and it moved from there. And today, I think 12 years down the line, it seems 12 lifetimes and about 200 lifetimes more, because little did we realize in 2012 that there's so much ground to cover. It began with a simple thought. Everybody, immaterial of who they are, what their capacity to learn is, should have spaces to learn, should have spaces where they can love and teach others to love. So simplistically, the organization was named Sneha after Sneha, which also means love. And the name was given to us by Sumati, who's here on the call, and said, what would this mean to be just a continuum of love and compassion? And that's what has driven us till now, since then. The idea was inclusion is vital. Inclusion is vital for empathy. Inclusion is vital for well-being. And it started to say, let's do this, and let's do this with the methodology of the arts. So we began working with children with disabilities. And then each step was the next step that we thought was needed in this journey of inclusion. So we moved from, so our pathways of care and connection was to say, how do we start connecting with more and more and more children, adults, systems, organizations, and that still remains a very critical ethos of the organization. Our mission right now is to empower individuals through art practices, work on sustainable inclusion models, and see how this journey of 12 years can be taken to the next level. We are quite sure that what has brought us here from 2012 to 2024 is not going to get us there. And if you're compelled to ask, where is the there is a journey we are all going to do together. So what 5 and 10 people did in the last 12 years, we want 5,000 and 10,000 of us doing it in the next 12 years. So this webinar is a conversation around that. And the course just is an incidental part of how we can achieve this larger vision. Now, Snehadhara's pillars of impact, just for you to know, because many of you have associated with different areas of work that Snehadhara has done, or some might just be hearing about us for the first time. Our primary area of work is our direct beneficiary work, which is directly working with children with disabilities, children from vulnerable groups, adults, women groups, senior citizens. So the direct care or the direct beneficiary work is the heart of our program. Everything begins for us from there. Yes, you can keep putting the slides up as you feel is relevant. It's all right. It's just a quote for them. Yeah. So the direct care work today is housed in a beautiful campus in Nelamangala, where we have a semi-residential program. Monday to Thursday, there are neurodiverse adults who live there. We work with about 8 to 10 government schools, and that's our inclusion model, where the direct care becomes a crucible for us to test and see how all of this is working. Interestingly, the direct care in its 12th year is at an interesting stage to join parents and parents' communities to answer the what after me question. So April 2025 will training program for assisted living rollout of that campus in Nelamangala. Another vertical for us is impart. See, when you're working with art-based practitioners and when you're rooted in the arts, we love this Namkaran. So all our programs have so many names. Half of it goes in naming our programs. So impart, spelled as IMP in small and ART, is an acronym for interventions, methodologies, and practices using the arts. What do we do through impart? We work with educators, we work with leaders, we work caregivers, we work in educational institutions to take this methodology and train. So we do offer training programs, we do offer workshops, we do offer conferences in Impart. In under Impart now, like I told you, we love names. Na? Under Impart, there's one more interesting program which is called Creative Connections, which basically is that vertical which advocates for diversity, equity, and inclusion amongst corporates. That has allowed us to work with organizations like the USAID, the US Embassy, CDRI, Volvo. And that's been one vertical which has got sharpened because we realized that while we started arts cannot be limited to only vulnerable groups. There is an artist in each one of us who is left untapped. And this artist has to be given a role to play in society in community building. So all of these programs actually birthed one from that and it moved on from that. Am I audible? I got one notification saying internet unstable.
Just for a
audible.
Okay, am I stable now?
Yeah, we missed one sentence in between.
Okay. That would have been, please join the course. Never mind that sentence. Okay. Never mind. Whatever you heard is what you're meant to hear. Okay. Yeah. Creative Connections is that program with which we work with corporates. Now, why am I telling you all these stories? I'm telling you this because I feel in any of these, there could be points of intersection for us to come together. So hear it from that perspective. Then comes Pragya Dhara. Now, Sneha Dhara for us, Pragya comes, Sumati and I are both students of Buddhism, Buddhist psychology. We learned it when we did our ABT course together. And we were very intrigued by the idea of love and compassion. We were very intrigued by the whole idea of skill and the right. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you?
it paused, but now we can hear you. It paused again.
Audible? Am I back? Audible?
Now you're back. Your video is still stuck, but audio we can hear. Could you say something else again? Okay, I think she'll be back soon.
Frozen.
Mm. Okay, she should be back very soon, everyone. Not to worry.
Okay, so Geeta was telling us about Pragyadhara. And the name Pragyadhara came from the word Pragya, which means wisdom. We said we have the Sneha part of it, and let's bring the two together. We bring the wisdom into it. And that's how the other vertical, Pragyadhara, came in. And here's where API is a part of that vertical.
Power on. Bluetooth mode.
Thank you. Thank you. You know what? It's very strange. Until today's webinar, I've had the most stable connection. But it's so strange. No, it's like I don't know how it works. But anyways, thank you. So that
Oh, Geeta, we lost you again. Frozen again. Yeah.
am I audible now? I'm so sorry. It still says internet connection unstable. I'm going to try. Give me 2 minutes. Okay, audible. Yeah, everyone's screen is frozen for me, so I don't know where I
No,
am.
you're audible.
Yeah, you're loud and
Yeah?
clear. Yep.
We can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
There's still a bit of a glitching, but yeah, we can see.
Now better, now better. Just everybody shake a little so I know you're not frozen. Okay, then I ordered. Thank you so much. Yeah, okay. All right, so that gave birth to Pragyadhara. Pragyadhara is the home for the API course. This offers the one-year course in arts practices for inclusion. Pragyadhara was launched in Argentina in 2019. And then this program, since 2019, has trained over 150 practitioners in India, Nepal, Sri Lanka. We have some people from our Nepal team who are here as well today. So what Pragyadhara was set out to do was to say, along with looking at a structured learning program in understanding the science of the arts, and along with designing this particular program, an important part of that is to keep our conversations around philosophy, our conversation around the arts, our conversations around our individual journeys on. So another little bit that Pragyadhara aspires to do, started to do, and we are hoping to bring it back to life is the Study of the Mind series, which is an invitation for people to come together as study groups. So the last 12 years has meant this is get ready with, because you have better internet connection with me, get ready with that reaction, which is clap, 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 because I'm going to share our impact of the last few years. We didn't think, little did we think in 2012 that this journey would have impacted over 10,500 individuals through art-based interventions. We've worked with 75,000 people in the last 12 to 13 years and trained more than 3,000 professionals and organizations across 8 countries. Now, this is again a share coming deeply from the space of, we didn't think that creating an equitable learning space for Sneha would mean this. And if this is what it meant to a few of us who don't come from a background of running an organization, many of you who are here are coming in with a lot more today as a starting point. So I'm hopeful that, you know, we found our, what you say, tribe in many of you here who are here and registered for this webinar. So that the entire 12 years culminated into this journey, and API became a framework for us where arts, creativity, science, inclusion, diversity comes together. And through this, I think is where the part 2 of Snehadhara, I think like every movie has one sequel, no? So our next part 2 version of Snehadhara is resting in this API movement. And here is where we are today with all of you. So that's the little bit of an introduction of who we are. And that it's a webinar on arts practices for inclusion. I'm going to request all of you, I told you have to be expected to do all sorts of things because that's the only thing that we know. I'm going to expect all of you for just another 2 to 3 minutes. There's going to be music played right now. You're going to actually listen to the music that's being played and move however you wish to move. If you feel your hands feel like moving, please move. If you feel like you don't want to do anything, but you want to laugh at the ones who are moving on the screen, please do. But tune in to the music and see, is this nudging or doing something to us at all? If not, take it like a filler in this webinar where we're just playing music. But it'll be nice if you give yourself that permission and just see what this music is doing, which part of your, like say, hands and feet. And this is a family show, so I changed it to which part of your hands and feet. Others I said, whichever part you would like to move, please sway to the music that's been played. The music will fade off in about 3 to 4 minutes, and then we come back. Does that sound okay to everybody else? And those who don't have your videos on, you're at a bigger advantage in this piece because nobody knows how you're moving and whether you're moving at all. So make the most of it. And those of you who feel like turning on your videos to show us your grooves and gyrations, please do that as well. Yash, please play the music. PI. What is arts practices for inclusion? And I would also like to start with talking about arts practices for inclusion today by talking about arts therapy, creative arts therapy, creative movement therapy. There are some beautiful offerings today that have been offered by our peers, have been offered by our teachers. And I think it'd be important for all of us first to understand now in all of this offering, what is this arts practices for inclusion? Is it a repackaged version of art therapy or art-based therapy? Is it like one of those versions where Haldi Doodh is coming as turmeric latte in Starbucks? Let's understand what this is, because before we decide whether this is for me or not, it's nice to know about everything else. So expressive arts and creative movement therapy, something I think many of us have heard, or many of you might have been trained in. So I also don't know the motivation for many of you attending this webinar. And I'd like to believe you're not listening to us as the first people from whom you're listening about art therapy or expressive art therapy or art practices for inclusion. You would have either been trained in one of these, or you would have been wanting to do one of these. Whatever be the reason, it's a useful exercise to know what these varied offerings are. Expressive art and creative movement therapy, I think we have Brinda Jacobs Smart, which offers a very beautiful course on expressive art therapy. Tripura Kashyap Simtai, which offers a course on creative movement and dance therapy. Now, expressive art therapy and creative therapy are both, again, the commonality between all of this is it's a multidisciplinary approach and it integrates all art forms. It talks about visual art. It talks about music, drama, dance, writing. It's fair to say creative art therapy and expressive movement therapy, in the way I've understood it, is to foster personal expression. Look at emotional growth. Look at your own journey. Look at how can you start using these as a language of expression for you to navigate through issues, or not even issues, to navigate through your journey by which you can offer something to people. And of course, I may not be the best person to tell you the nuances of this, but it will be useful for you before you make a choice. If you want to engage with arts practice for inclusion, first to understand what these two are and does this call out to you. Then we have arts-based therapy. It's a structured, evidence-based approach of using the arts for therapeutic goals. ABT was pioneered by WCCLF, who are the leaders in this field, also the alma mater for Sumati and I. We are both trained art-based therapy practitioners, where we learned how to address specific therapeutic needs and got trained in looking at the role of the arts in meeting specific therapeutic goals. This was grounded in neuroscience, is grounded, research, psychological theories. So that's what arts-based therapy is about. Now, when you talk about API, is API something very different or is it a repackaged version? API's primary focus is to foster inclusion, diversity, equity in community contexts. So put quite simplistically, it is the use of art forms. I mean, we are not the first people to teach you music and drumming and dance. I mean, you would have, if some of you have done music therapy, your question would be, how different is this from music therapy? But we're looking at arts practices and we're looking at these art forms as a way in which we create spaces where people are given a freedom of choice to participate or not participate in this, where you decide what an equitable society is for you. So the focus here is largely on cohesion and it is community-centered. While all of these art-based approaches, be it creative art, ABT, creative movement therapy, play a very vital role in addressing, of course, emotional needs, psychosocial well-being, API's unique focus is on inclusion and equity, where we believe that the therapy that's being offered, we know there is enough, there's no claim to fame here, there's enough evidence-based literature today on the efficacy of art forms to achieve learning therapeutic outcomes. But we are set out to say that the art forms become a language for us also to look at models where we can talk about inclusion, diversity, and equity. So API stands out to be first of that kind of a program where our learnings began from a therapeutic space. So we saw the children making beautiful shifts in the work that we did. All these organizations that we worked with, regular schools, government schools, inclusive schools, all of it, we saw that there was merit in the role of the arts. Now, if there is merit in the role of the arts for a vulnerable group and a group that one identifies as special needs, there is merit in this methodology for society at large. So we're not saying that there is a group to be included and there is one including group. We're saying that if we have to coexist, we need a common language which says this is what an equitable society means for all of us. So that's what API is set out to do. And it's fair for you to understand that the goal, so and I think as you hear me in the next maybe half an hour, it will be nice to start reflecting right away on what is your alignment to this kind of a mission. So if you're looking at someone who's saying, and of course we do, Sumati and I still are practitioners of ABT, we do offer sessions in ABT, we are meeting therapeutic goals for children who work with us in our one-on-one and group settings. But from there has emerged the need to say, now what do we do by taking this to community at large? So if you're that mascot or crusader for inclusion, and if you feel you're on that step, then there may be something in this for you. So some of the key impacts of this, we have worked in diverse groups. Our 150 practitioners of the last couple of years have worked with children with in palliative care, children who have been survivors of sexual abuse, children and adults, mental health, senior citizens. And yes, when we started this way back in the year of COVID, I think is when we took a year, we did 3 years of teaching the ABT course. We took a year to get the API course in place, do a bit of research. And then when we rolled this out, it was nice for us to see that this got also recognized by the global award by the Millennium Alliance. So that gave us a lot of conviction to say we're headed maybe in the right direction. And that also allowed us to take this both to Sri Lanka, Nepal, and to various other organizations across the states of India. Now, this is just like an overall. I think the hard pressing question that should be on the top of your mind is, अच्छा ये सब ठीक है, अभी बता तो सही ये API क्या है? So this is the time to understand कि what is this API? Now, arts practices for inclusion is a methodology that leverages creative arts as a tool to foster inclusion, well-being, and social equity for all. So put simplistically, arts becomes a language, a medium, a tool, a methodology, whatever you call it, a magic wand, which is what Sumati and I call when we finish one session with children and come back, we come back with recharging our magic wands. And that magic wand is like it's like a kitty of more exercise, more activities for us, with the goal of fostering inclusion, well-being, and social equity for all. We'll keep talking about this. What makes this unique? So what's the foundation of this? Is this all about Nach, Gana, drama and all? Yes, it is. And we have no bones about saying that's what it is. There have been many times people, the scientific world for a long time, the medical world never took us seriously because it was, what is this music and dance and drama? Can you tell us what you do? And we had to say, we do this. What is the outcome of what you do? We said, happy people. Then they said, no, corporate success, what is the quantifiable outcome? And we said, you give us a tool to measure this happiness of a happy, well-beinged society. We're still there. I mean, we are still in Chhattis ka Akda to be able to quantify this, but we're looking at what does this well-being mean? What makes this unique is its foundation in philosophy and psychology, which is guided by human development theories, cognitive neuroscience, Eastern mind traditions, and art modalities. I think that's these four things make API what API is. And the heart of it, at the heart of it is to see how do we work with cognitive, emotional, and social growth of all. Could you, what is this? Sorry, could the PPT be shared on the screen? It helps. Yes, please. It can be, and we're just, the PPT has some quotes. We can keep sharing it. We can also send it to you. Thank you for writing it. So the core of API is to look at cognitive, emotional, and social growth, to look at inclusion and belonging, and to look at psychosocial well-being. So put very simplistically, what we are hoping that a movement like API can do is the spaces are created where people feel a sense of belongingness and togetherness, where they're allowed to come in, bringing all parts of themselves, exercise their freedom to participate or not. Such spaces automatically is going to promote inclusion, where arts becomes a language. And if there is a space where I feel there is a sense of belongingness and togetherness, and there is equity in that space, automatically there is a therapeutic relationship that gets developed. And inclusion is just going to automatically happen out of it. So that's what the whole focus of API is. Why does API actually matter? I believe that it's high time we start addressing the needs of various populations, marginalized groups, groups whose stories have neither been seen or heard, while we promote broader social equity. So by establishing a sustainable model, we believe that this can become an integral thing in educational and community systems. So through API, practitioners, community alike, we feel what would it mean for us to build this and bring this up together. And to put all of this in place and to like have a way to go ahead with this, we decided to come up with our API course, which we want to talk to you about. Now, this API course is a one-year certificate program. You can think about this course as a superhero course. But instead of wearing that cape and Batman ka costume, imagine it's a superhero with paint brushes, djembes, dance moves, and music. This is what the API course is about. Putting it like just to give you a very visual thing on what it would be. So an API practitioner would look like a superhero who carries all these things with them. and who moves from place to place, creating the spaces and spreading whatever love, belongingness, and togetherness. This course is taught, this course comprises, it is a 486 hours of coursework. Many of you will now leave the call listening to who wants to do 486 hours and all that. I wanted a quick course. Wait, I'll tell you what this 486 hours is. This 486 hours includes taught modules where we teach you the course, which happens in Bangalore in the Snehadhara campus. You come here just for 2 weeks, 1 week in Feb and 1 week in June. There is practical experience, which happens wherever you are, in the organizations that you are, in the spaces that you are. There is self-study, there is assignments, there is a community-based project, and there is a clear focus on giving us a self-care plan. You will be assigned supervisors, and the unique supervision structure has supervisors who support you through this journey. That's the logistics of the course. It starts in Feb 2025, I think 15th Feb. All of those details you'll find. I don't want to tell you anything that you can find in our website. So just for you, for some of you, just to have, if you're very like, I want the logistics first, pehle bata, when is the course and how much to pay? I'm telling you right away. You're expected to be here in Feb for 1 week and in June for 1 week. After that, that's mandatory. And even for people who are in Bangalore, it's mandatory. It's a beautiful space in the way we look at the taught modules, because it brings together people doing some wonderful work across the country, bring together people, students, heads of organizations, some people just generally lost with midlife crisis, but great aspirations of putting things together, some coming with deep experiences to come together and live as a community. And the batch of Feb 2025 is a special batch for us because we also have the opportunity of sharing space with relief workers from Manipur. It's a project that we have been associated with. And when we went to Manipur to work a few months ago, we realized that in the largest scheme of things that they're handling, what we're doing is really peanut size. I don't know why I emphasize so much on P, I meant to say peanut. But the contribution that we are doing in terms of even making this methodology accessible to them is very little, and we are looking forward to learning from that group, because that's a community that's been in relief camps for more than a year now. So for many of you who may be otherwise looking at wanting to partner and collaborate with us, Manipur needs all of us. The children of Manipur, it was very painful for us to see when we went to the relief camps last year, a child who was 6 years is 7 years, but still in that same relief camp. Yes, with a bloated face, looking a lot more chubbier, but not because of being in the relief, because of malnutrition diseases, kwashiorkor marasmus. So we feel it's going to require many of us to get there. And we're very happy that the Feb batch will give us an opportunity to learn from these relief workers. And I wonder what it takes for them to stay the course. The contact sessions, which will happen in Feb and June. Then we have the monthly online meetings where we stay connected to our teams. We also stay connected to the API students of the previous batches. And it also has a research component where it's an evolving research component. You collect data. The research is analyzed by the Snehadhara team. And we're still looking at what's the best way in which we're able to look at it as a larger research of the efficacy of something like this, which is set out to build diversity and inclusion. So why would you choose? Now, this sounds like a sales pitch, but yes, why would you choose API over any of the others? Now, you could have your own reasons, but the top 3 reasons, I think, if I were you, would be, if you're looking at expressive arts and ABT, then prioritizing API for you would be, if I want to go down that path of working with communities at large, if I want to be a part of that societal change, then API should be one of your first picks. The other thing is it's very community centric. So if inclusive development, if you feel you can be such a contributor to that system, then this is something for you. And also, one other reason is there is a universal application of API here, because it is something that can be used in the education sector, social work, community settings. You are equipped enough to work with all types of people and all types of groups, including yourself. I mean, let's put ourselves first. I mean, and then that's where it is. If you're ready to put yourself through something which is going to call for a very gentle but fierce way on working on yourself, like caring for another while caring for yourself, then API should be your pick. Now, I'm going to take a bit of a pause right now and invite our next speaker, who is here with us, Rajiv Menon. And it's really a privilege for me to have him come in and add to this part of the call. And as I say it in light humor, he's responsible for birthing this API. We've had a shared birthing journey. Now, the reason I say that is, I mean, we were at a stage in Snehadhara where we needed to start looking at how to do or how do we strategize all these learnings of the last 10 years into a model where we can take it out there to systems at large. So I'm not going to say he's the father of API and all that, but yes, Rajiv Menon. And I'm going to hand it over to him to talk to us about what's the future vision of API and what he has to say, but a little bit about Rajiv. Rajiv is a seasoned corporate professional with expertise in sales, product innovation, and strategy. There's a lot about him. Gained his tenure in FMCG, industrial human capital management sectors. Over the years, he has been guiding startups in recruitment tech, ed tech, assessment tech. His dedication to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging led him to co-author a book, Apples and Oranges, a practical guide to fostering inclusivity at home and work. At Snehadhara, Rajiv, alongside with Mohan, Sumati, Sarangan, have been the flag bearers of this API course, guiding the organization to make this shift from focusing on arts for therapy to arts for inclusion. And this transformation has been very strategic for us because that's why we are where we are. So over to you, Rajiv.
Thanks, Gitu, and thanks for the glowing introduction. Warms me up on a cold, bleary day in Bangalore, as most of you would see. When Gitu parachuted me into this conversation today, I was hit by a mix of panic because I know some of these sessions can be very powerful, magnetic, and I didn't know how I would fit in. At the same time, excitement because this is an audience that I was told is very, very diverse, looking at various things, and I thought this is a wonderful opportunity to kind of interact with all of you and provide you what we think at Snehadhara is the vision for the organization at large and API as well, right? So when I started my journey with Snehadhara, I started as an outsider, a fly on the wall in a sense. I was observing the wonderful work that the organization was doing to the kids, and then I thought, why should it be restricted to such a small audience? Why can't it scale up? Why can't we democratize it? And we were looking at various ways, and that's how I came on the board as well. And API, when the conversation around API started, that's when I thought, hey, this is a wonderful opportunity for the core idea of scaling up. How can we build something that can scale up? And you've seen the proof of that, not just as an organization, but from API course as well, how we've added the number of API practitioners year on year. How can we scale it up to impact a much larger community is what we were looking at. And Gitu mentioned a little bit about the fact that I am very interested and passionate about the entire aspect of DEI in corporates. And this comes from the fact that I've seen innovation growing by leaps and bounds when there's a lot of diverse thinking, diverse thought. And I've always been intrigued by the fact that if the linkage between diversity and innovation is so clear, why aren't organizations adopting DEI in a much bigger way rather than just those specific days of gender days and certain months and stuff like that? It's not what I call as an every minute culture yet. And that's what led to me co-authoring this book to help organizations and people understand how they can build inclusion in their lives and their workspaces as well. So that aside, what I think is very, very important for us to realize, and Gitu laid down a bunch of possible situations where you'd want to enroll in this course. But what I want to also impose on all of you is the fact that what we are trying to do is a much larger movement here. It's a much larger impact generating conversation with hundreds of stakeholders. And Gitu, in a sense, at a target, although she probably put that number just out of head of 5,000 and 10,000 instead of 5 and 12, I think it's a good indication of where we want to get to. We want to build a much larger community of partners, not just us. And she did mention a bunch of partners as well. And we believe that there are hundreds of partners all across the globe. We want to build a much larger community to help take inclusion not just into these care spaces, but also into corporates, into everyone's, into normal life as well. And that's where I come in. That's where the vision really comes in terms of saying, how can that inclusion happen, right? Now, what are the options that could possibly be in front of many of you if you take up an API course? I believe there is a lot of chatter today in the market, in corporates, about leadership, about coaching, about creating psychologically safe workspaces, and so on and so forth. All of these, if you look at it, one of the key building blocks is inclusion. If you have an inclusive mindset, you can be a great leader. If you have an inclusive mindset, you can be a great coach. If you are a psychology student trying to figure out what else can you do, I think inclusion, bringing an element of inclusion into the workspace could be a way in which you can engage with the corporate. So there is a ton of stuff that is there out there. And I think what I would kind of end up with this quick interlude of mine here is, I would obviously appeal to as many of you to join this API course and Gitu laid out beautifully the various advantages and benefits of it. But also join us in this movement as we go into the second 12 years. Every 12 years, they say, is the Kumbh Mela. That's going to happen in Jan. And this, for me, is the next Kumbh Mela that we're targeting. By the time we come to the next one, we should have hit the number of 5,000 and 12,000 that Gitu has kind of indicated, and probably exceeded by 10 times is my number. If we can get to those kind of numbers, if this movement can get to those kind of numbers with partnerships, with the focus on inclusion all across, I think we would have done our job and would have clearly seen where Sneha can take us. Right. So that's quickly what I wanted to kind of cover in a couple of minutes, just to leave you guys with the immense possibilities outside just what we are currently speaking. There is a much larger globe of possibilities in the current environment that we are all living in, and I think I would invite all of you to be a part of that. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you, Rajiv. And I think it would be nice for us also to listen to some of the faculty members who are here, some of our students who are here pursuing the course. So I'm going to invite Satish right now to tell us a little bit about his chance with destiny with the API course and everything else after that. Over to you, Satish. You have about a minute or two.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So I'm right now in the ongoing batch API, and I'll speak in Kannada. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾನು ಪ್ರೈಮರ್ಲಿ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಜೊತೆ, ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ನೀಡ್ಸ್ ಚಿಲ್ಡ್ರನ್ ಜೊತೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಈ ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತಲಿನ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಜೊತೆ. ಬಟ್ ಈಗ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ the course, now I am started working with old age home residents people, which I never thought of. But this course gave me that strength of facilitation and like work with adults and elders, and to build that connection, and also seeing that doing the facilitation, seeing that happiness that they bring to the table, which is something very unique and like also heartening for me to see. And also one is that thing, and also as a person, it helped me a lot to connect with people, and also to look into myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Satish. So much Kannada you spoke now. I don't need to translate at all. But yes, I think what may be interesting for us in Satish's journey is Satish started off with working with children on campus, children with varied disabilities, and then moved on to working in the government schools and now with senior citizens. And it's very interesting for us to see if you have to assign him to one of these groups, it'll be a tough choice to see which group he would fit into. So thank you, Satish, for sharing that. I'm also going to invite right now Christelle, who is our faculty member from Kerala. Where are you, Christelle?
She lost connection. She'll just join back.
Okay, so then I'm going to have Sindhu speaking a little bit on her journey. And Sindhu has also been, I would say, the mastermind of Manipur for us. Because Manipur was an aspiration that Sindhu said. I think we were sitting together for an API course and she said, can we do something in Manipur? And then there's no looking back after that. And I think if today we are having the opportunity to work with Manipur and the relief workers there, it is Sindhu. Sindhu has been a API student, moved into being a supervisor and a faculty. A little bit from you, Sindhu, on what is something that you would like to tell?
Manipur, all that I can say is the conviction that this method, that we can take this to any place, just be able to take it to a space like Manipur. It's just that entering points that in a relief camp to be able to go there and just work with the arts and what that is doing to that group. We are working with the volunteers there at the moment. Of course, we had a chance to also work with when we went there with the people, but to be able to provide the space to the volunteers, to give them the space of experiencing the arts for themselves and what it is. I mean, they're taking it there, but to give the volunteers a space to be for themselves, care for themselves, and then the magic that is doing to them and what that is doing to the groups there is something not quantifiable, like Gitanjali has already said at the beginning. But yeah, for me, it's more and more faith and belief that a movement like this or practices like this can be taken anywhere. Conflict. How can we use artistic practices in places of conflict? And what does, bring in compassion and love, a language of love through the arts? I don't know if there's anything else. That's all.
Thank you. Sindhu's very nervous to speak and it's very evident, but thank you for that perspective. Before we get into bringing the whole thing together and listening to some of you, I'm going to ask Yashaswini to play us a little 3-minute video on just the work. And I think this is just like a random compilation put together just to see what this thing of arts and practices and inclusion and spreading joy looks like. And the invitation is, it's hard to make out in this video who is the beneficiary and who's the practitioner. Because this is one relationship where you don't know, there's no giving, there's no taking. It's everybody being there for what they are, and just a little glimpse of what all this madness looks like. This video has 2 parts. It's about a 3-minute video. The first part is the work, to see it with the beneficiaries. And the second part is, what does this API training, this contact session look like? So yes, Yashu, over to you.
Dale. W, X, Y, Z. Now somebody look at Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We do.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Thank you. A little glimpse of what this work looks like, what the trainings look like, what our taught sessions look like. You got to see glimpses of some of those present on the call today, the Nepal group. And yes, we have Crystal back here. So Crystal, we lost connection when I introduced you. So a little bit about Crystal has been somebody who did the ABT course with us and went on to be a part of our team, is a very integral part of the API faculty, and does some wonderful work herself. So it'd be nice to hear from Crystal on what API has meant for her in the work that she does and what would be her little message for us. Yes, Crystal.
Hi, I'm so sorry I got disconnected in the Alps in Switzerland. No, I'm joking. I'm in Cochin, Kerala. Nice to be here and the little international part of API and Snehadara. I run an NGO in Cochin. We work on the prevention and healing of child sexual abuse. I have mainly used, so I'm a student of ABT from the Snehadara Foundation back in 2017-18 at their first batch. I have used ABT and API mainly with teenagers and with children who have been sexually abused, as well as their families, girls who have become pregnant through abuse. And it's such a difficult topic to talk about that the arts have really been helpful in being able to get these children to express using the different art mediums. What to say? I love coming to Snehadara. The campus is amazing. The team are amazing. If you join this course, you will have so much fun. You'll have a lot of hard work, but you'll have so much fun. And just look forward to seeing you in February. So sign up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Crystal. And I think now, in the interest of time, I want to open this up a little bit to listening from you all. Questions? Is there anything that you want to ask us? Is there any sharings? Before we start tying it together to a closure, I want to be mindful of the Sunday evening time. So do unmute yourself and ask us questions if there's anything that you'd like to know, if there's anything that you would like to ask. or type your question in the chat window.
Yes, Archana, you raised your hand.
Yeah, hi. Good evening. Sorry, I was driving, so I couldn't switch on my camera earlier. But I heard through the entire work at Sneha Dhara. Very interesting. I personally work in the inclusion of disability sector, and this is very interesting to know that it's a hybrid kind of a model. I stay in Mumbai, and of course I have a job and everything. So I wanted to understand every day what's the kind of time that I need to give, because Bombay we travel to work, and then the travel hours are like crazy. And then I have so I want to understand the time duration one needs to devote to this. Um, and also the Bangalore thing, by chance, because of any work schedule or any other reason, we miss. What does that happen? Do we have a like cover up session later on, or is there something like that? So just trying to get the hang of it.
Yes, Archana. Great question. I think it may answer many of them who might have this top level question. One is, I'll answer the whole thing for you in one piece. What is the kind of time I might have to give this course if I sign up for this course for the entire year, starting Feb 2025 to March 2026? It's fair to say about 6 to 7 hours a week. Now, the reason I say 6 to 7 hours a week is you are required to have a group or a population with which you're going to be offering these API sessions. Now, if you are already working with persons with disabilities, or for example, there could be some people in a corporate space today, you identify an organization keeping in mind Mumbai. I'm Mumbaikar myself. And the traffic, I would suggest if you either pick up an organization that's closer to the place that you are, where you can volunteer and offer these courses, these sessions at least 2 times a week. If you are able to do that 2 times a week, 1 hour sessions, then it's fair to say that you would be able to finish the course requirements. With regards to the second part of your question, we hope that the Feb and the June contact sessions, whose dates are already finalized and fixed, work out for everybody who's signing up. There have been one-off situations where people have had to go for an exam or something like that, in which case we have created that as an exception. But the minute somebody signs up for the course, we almost have an entire team which prays that all the conditions work in favor of all the causes and conditions coming together for the student who signed up, because these are genuine variables.
Correct.
And that is something we're mindful of. But we'd like you to say that block the time, like in certain cases, if you already know what you're doing Feb 15th onwards now, then it's an easier conversation to have, that I have something coming up. But if you don't, we'd say put it there and then we try and see. There may not be a makeup session, but there would be a way in which we could work it around if you miss a day or something like that. And I mean, that's something we'd like to, but it'll affect the group dynamics, because it's a community coming together of sharing and all of that. So there is no way of streamlining that one day you miss and all that. That's not there. I hope that's answered your question.
Thank you. Thank you. I just have one more question here. Are there, I know
Yes.
it's a 1-year program that you mentioned, but are there any shorter duration programs that somebody like me as a professional can attend? Because I don't work directly with children at my work end. I work in combination with children professionals, like on a multitude of stakeholders. So is there any smaller courses like 2 month, 3 month thing that's offered as well?
So you don't have to necessarily work with children. There are a lot of, I think there's an organization in Mumbai, only Man. Yash, take note of Archana and her contact details. We are going to be doing something with Man at the end of December, but they're also working with various stakeholders. So in that case, it's not necessary, first of all, that your client group has to be children. And shorter courses are offered, but that's offered largely to groups. So if it's happening in Mumbai, I will tell you. Because we do that based on clients. Like there are some corporates who come and tell us, can you do this for our caregiving community? So that is something that we would, but I would to the last segment talk about what if you do not want to do the course, how can you still stay connected? But see how that works for you. Yes.
Yeah.
Akansha? Akansha has a question. Your hand is up.
Hello.
Yes, Akansha.
Hi. Yeah. Hi, ma'am. Good evening. So, ma'am, I'm a parent and I stay in Bangalore. So, is this program like for professionals only, or like I can learn this for my sons as well? And in future, if I want, like I can take it as a profession as well. And I'm not a very good artist, to be very frank. I'm
Then you
just,
have to sign up for this course, because everyone who said I'm not a good artist, we take them as a case study to say who told you you're not a good artist. It will also answer Shreya's question, Akansha. Just in the interest of time, I'm answering. What is the eligibility criteria for the course? This course is open to psychologists, people who are in the space of social work, MSW, parents, counselors, organizational heads. But the prerequisite of the course, to answer your question, is I'm a parent of a child and this may be useful for me for the child. Yes, it would, but we will tell you, like we have in this particular batch, this batch, 2 people doing the course who are parents. So they're doing the course, but you have to find a group with which you can practice that course. In a case of a parent, we guide the parent differently. We tell you to pick up a population, which may not necessarily be a special needs group, where you can practice the course and upskill yourself to bring it back in working with your child. That you're in Bangalore, I think you would have an added advantage for us, where we'd also tell you, even if you want to otherwise learn hands-on, please come to our campus. You have an opportunity to come and be, and also maybe we have a program called Sangam one Saturday in a month. You could also look at bringing your child along to see the way the arts are used. So I've just answered that question. I hope that answers your question, and the team will be in touch with you. Yes, Moon, your hand is up.
Hi, sorry, I'm very sick, so my voice might sound it. I had 2 questions. I'm sorry if I missed it, but I was wondering what the fee for the course is. And second thing is, you said you said that we'd have to kind of do these courses, do like the practical work with the communities in our own surroundings. So I was wondering if you have like a pool of NGOs or organizations that you're already in touch with within different states, so that it becomes easier to find a place where we could do the work.
Yes, there is. I'll answer the second part first. There are organizations which would have had our past practitioners been from, and I think in every state of the country, we've had one organization at least, which we could be able to connect. In a situation where you don't have an organization, one of the faculty members, Yashashwini, who leads the API research lead as well, would be in touch with you to see how best can we look at an organization that works with your aspiration for the course, and what is the best synergy there. So we will guide you through that and put you on and see. So that one part of it we do in the ambit of the organizations that we do. In regards to the course of the fees of the course, right after this call, all of you would be getting an email with the prospectus and would be getting a little more finer details of the course. So once you go through that, somebody from the team will speak to you. The course is priced keeping in mind the residential 15 days on campus, the API kit, which comes to you, the supervisors, there are no additional costs for supervisions. So we will take you through that. We've tried to make it as affordable as possible. It also has got subsidized. So part of the course is picked up as a subsidy in the way Snehadhara works. It's the rest which is passed on to the student. And there is options which make it easily possible for you to pay it even if it's installment. So I'm going to have, the minute you receive our prospectus and email, wait for one of the team members who are attending to API admissions to speak to you and help you with that. And I hope that works for you. Is there a possibility for a follow-up course who joined before to join in Bangalore? You're welcome to join Bangalore whenever you want to come, Ram, and we can take that offline. We do have an aspiration to come back with something continued just for Nepal and Sri Lanka together, but keep watching this space. Are we learning art neurography as well in like Zentangle? I'm sorry, I hope I chose the correct word. You're learning various art forms in which I'm not too sure whether we're focusing on the art form per se in terms of what is like Zentangling particularly, but it will come up in the expressions that you're working with in visual art. So I request to everybody is don't worry too much about the nuances of the art form. You're not going to be a better singer or a dancer or a drummer at the end of it, but you will have moments of wow to say, wow, I never knew that I could work with this art form like that. So if there are more questions, I'm going to request you to write in to us, and just bringing the whole thing for all of us together. And for the kind of time each one of you have given, I felt I want to just reiterate on a couple of things here. Our vision is simple: a world where inclusion isn't an exception, but it's a norm. And API is one way to make that happen. We believe API is not just a course, it's a movement, a chance to reimagine how we build inclusive communities, one artistic step at a time, one brush stroke at a time, one rhythm at a time, one beat at a time, one step at a time. Why should you do this course? You should do this because you believe that there is in you someone who can build an equitable society through the arts. You could do this course because you're ready to dive in from ground zero, roll up your sleeves and say, let me be the change I wish to see. You would do this course if you see yourself as a crusader for that social change, if you're ready to champion inclusion in every space that you touch. And if you're worried about needing fancy degrees and prior experiences and all, no, you don't. The only thing you need is passion, your heart at the right place, and that badass attitude to say, I'm going to build an empathetic, compassionate society. We'll help you with everything else. And yes, why shouldn't you do this course? Let's be honest, API may not be for everyone. If you're looking at personal therapy, self-reflection, this is not the space. Though there is no judgment here, at the moment we are set out on this next phase of taking this to larger communities. If you'd rather sit on the sidelines than jump into action and you feel this is a lot to do, lot of movement, figuratively and literally, then maybe this is not the right course for you at this moment. Because this is not a course, like I'm saying, it's going to be an adventure for all of us. If you wish to learn to laugh, learn, leap, halfway give up, start painting, drumming, dance and move, then do apply for this course. If not, other ways to stay connected. If this doesn't feel right as a course for you, join us for our webinars, deepen your understanding of art practices, collaborate on any of our projects, become a part of an extended API community, connect us to people who you feel would merit from this. So what's next after this? You'd get an email with a link of this webinar recording to revisit today's session, should you wish to. You would get in that email the course prospectus, where you can look at the subjects and other things taught in the course in detail. And if you're okay, we would also have a request in that email to ask you if you're okay with one of us speaking to you. Then you'd have a team of people who would call, not the team won't call, one among the team of people who would call and take this conversation further. So as we wrap up, if there are no more questions, let's not forget the essence of today's session.
Ma'am,
inclusion isn't some. Yes, please.
Can I just say something?
Yes, please.
Yeah, hi guys. My name is Munmun. Good evening. I know it's not easy to be around on a Sunday evening. If somebody is having coffee or somebody is having something else. Now, I'm a therapist in DPS in a school. Now, I've always worked, I had to butt in, and it's not that I'm marketing, and don't listen to Gitu Mama. She will sound very nice and all. And then she's going to break you. Once you have applied for the course, she's going to say, I'm going to make you and break you. And she does.
Oh God, what is this public shaming? Who is this opposite party organization? Our competitors are speaking.
Yeah, I'm from your organization.
Munmun has done our ABT course just for the others. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what happened. I'm a very structured, I'm a Virgo. I'm a very structured, analytical person. And when I had gone there, I was going through a very bad space in my life. But you cannot imagine what it has done to me. There's something called, I won't let out the surprises. It's like a Pandora's box, really. But the thing is, they give you something very simple, like SCG. Kya hai? Meditation, 30 minutes. So I was like, it's such bullshit. And now it's been 4 years. Yeah. And now I'm sorry, ma'am, I have to be honest because people are enrolling. And
Please,
what
go ahead.
Gitu ma'am always used to say is that intent is the main thing. So I started doing that meditation. I was 82 kgs when I joined. I became, thank you, Palak. Then I became 52. I'm 46 years old, without sugar, without pressure, without cholesterol. Now, we always, when we are going into a course, we think about the prospect of it. But like it said, charity always begins at home. And why so? Because if you are not happy, and no matter what, like you said, you're from Bombay, I understand the pressure. I've been in Bombay and I've worked with a very dear friend of mine in Singapore who is like the ICICI Lombard head, got a Mustang, this and that. But I have seen them breaking down after the course. So that is what we give back to the community. And no, it is not just about children. I have worked with children, gero population. I worked with cancer patients. I worked with children at risk, meaning children who were abused and the ones who had abused them. Sometimes it's the parents also. So I worked with all of them, and it was not about the money. I got paid nothing for it. And that was the best part. There was a time I worked in HSBC, Citibank, Compaq, HP, and I've been the admin head. But the pleasure, I left everything. The pleasure I got after I got into ABT, I cannot even explain that to you. And I'm not lying. It's not a marketing pitch at all. For the course, yes, I'd spent 67,000, and it was the worst time of my life. Trust me. But what I got from it, I started, very little things will happen, you'll start planting. I'll show you, wait, which I never used to do. And I've got bad allergies. So I've started potting, planting. I've got Bozo, my doggy. I have applied for adoption. And so it is not about community. Of course, we'll give back. I've donated my body, my eyes. And I was never that before because I was a corporate person, a corporate stooge. I was making money and I was like, oh, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. But once I just changed, I left everything. And now I work in DPS. I earn 1 lakh a month, but I'm not enjoying it because it's political. I'm from Calcutta, by the way. It's not about Calcutta, really. It's about the situation of the world. Manipur, you talk about Manipur, I have 100 friends. They keep on fighting about Maitis and cookies. It doesn't really matter because a Maiti's best friend is a cookie and they are fighting with each other. So when Manipur issue was taken up, then I realized my calling is very different. And it starts from healing right here at your home alone on a Sunday evening. And that's where you should start from. So whoever is having doubts about timing and all, don't worry about it. And don't listen to Gitanjali ma'am. She will be very congenial and all that. And then she's going to do whatever she has to do. And कुछ नहीं है, कोई degree नहीं है, करना तो पड़ेगा. Now you have to do it. She has actually broken me. I am not the kind, I was ashamed, I was body shamed very badly. And I could never open a video. And when I went for the ABT course, I was very restricted. So I had a fight with Rishabh and Kavya, and now we are best of friends. So that's the thing, it breaks you. So do that for, no, ma'am, you're not going to talk.
I have to finish the webinar.
No, you cannot. You cannot. So the thing is, it gives you peace. And once you are at peace, you cannot imagine what you can do for others. Don't worry about the future. Like it said, past we cannot control. Future is not in our hands. Tomorrow there can be a tsunami and we can be dead. But the thing is, it's about the present. That's why it's called a present. It's a gift. So celebrate that. Don't worry about the money. Money will come, money will go. Right? Thank you. I had to say it because
Thank
Gitanjali
you,
ma'am.
Munmun.
and Sumati ma'am, they have been life changers for me. But don't fall for Gitu ma'am. Huh?
Oh God, excuse me, this is also being streamed live. I was not prepared for this. But anyways, thank you, Munmun, for that heartfelt
You're
share.
welcome.
And taking it from what Munmun is saying, there's a time in our lives where we break into pieces but don't fall apart. Because we know that there's something that holds us all together. And I would take this community, this group, as one of that. So while she keeps saying, breaking into pieces and breaking, the whole idea is for us to come together. And I think, and each of us at different stages have gone through this or are going through this, but what does it mean to have a community that holds us all to come together? And on that note, going back to wrapping up the session, inclusion isn't something we add, it's something we live. It's something we all need to live. And this change with API is going to start with one step, one brush stroke, one rhythm, one story that you're going to tell, a story you're going to create, a story that you're going to live. So thank you, each one of you, for being a part of this 1.5 hours, being here, being a part of this vision. Let's keep moving, connecting, creating together. And just remember, along with us, the world is waiting for your magic. Don't keep it waiting for too long. We're looking forward to staying in touch with each one of you. Await our email and our call. And if you don't want to have the call, I think there is an option in that email saying do write in to us. Otherwise, give us a little bit of time to speak to you and do a deep check-in on where you are. And thank you so much. Lots of love. Didn't get to see many of you. Maybe you just want to appear in 3D, in which case we await you with open arms on campus. The API team comprises of the faculty, some of whom you have met, one or two are not there, our API supervisors, our API lead, there is Shamla, there is Yashashwini, our research lead. All of these people together put together this offering and take it ahead. So it's a big team of people. The supervisors themselves are wonderful practitioners. And with each practitioner, we find our supervisor, we find our faculty. So today in Satish's story is the future faculty of API, and we are hoping each one can take it and make it their own. So lots of love to each one of you. Stay connected and yes, thank you. Looking forward to seeing many of you there, and whatever questions you have, we would love to take it up when we speak to you. Thank you, every one of you. I'm just reading the chat and getting a bit distracted, and thank you for that boost. I'm feeling quite excited and yeah, lovely. And I think if there is something that can bypass the cognitive mind and enter straight into your heart, it is the art, because the word heart also has art in it. So looking forward to seeing all of you. Lots of love. Now, if you don't disconnect, I'll